I never meant for it to happen like this. When I first met Ethan Reed, I was chasing the kind of independence I had always been too afraid to claim. I had left my small town in Indiana for the raw pulse of New York City, telling myself I was ready to build a life on my own terms. I found a job as an editorial assistant at a mid-tier publishing house and rented a tiny apartment in Brooklyn with the bare essentials. My life was far from glamorous, but it was mine. Every day I reminded myself of that, until the day Ethan walked into my world and made me question everything I thought I knew about control. He wasn't supposed to come in for an interview. The editor he was meeting had a last-minute emergency, so I was asked to greet him and take notes. I had no idea who he was, only that his name was scribbled on my schedule and that he was set to arrive at 10:30 a.m. on a Thursday that had already been unforgiving. I'd spilled coffee on my blouse, the subway had stalled for 15 minutes between stations, and I'd been chewed out by my boss for missing a typo in a manuscript. Then Ethan Reed walked in. He wore confidence like a second skin, his tailored charcoal suit fitting him perfectly, his stride calculated and smooth. He looked like he belonged in a boardroom overlooking Central Park, not in our cramped midtown office with flickering fluorescent lights. His eyes were a shade of gray that made me stop mid-sentence when I introduced myself. "Hi, I'm Olivia James," I said, standing a little too quickly from behind my desk. His handshake was firm, but what caught me off guard was the way he looked at me, like he already knew something about me I hadn't told anyone. Like I wasn't just a name on a schedule. Like I was already his. "Nice to meet you, Olivia," he said, his voice smooth and low, like he wasn't in any hurry. "I like people who look you in the eye when they talk. Not many do that anymore." I swallowed, unsure how to respond, and motioned toward the meeting room. I was supposed to ask questions from a pre-written list. I did my best to keep it professional, but Ethan had a way of taking over a room. Before I knew it, he was asking me questions about the publishing world, about my job, even about where I was from. I tried to steer the conversation back on track, but he had this uncanny ability to make everything feel like it was happening exactly as it should. When the meeting ended, he handed me a sleek black business card and said, "If you ever get tired of playing it safe, give me a call." I laughed nervously. "I don't play it safe." He arched a brow and smiled. "We'll see." I told myself I wasn't going to call him, that I was a professional and he was a potential author, and that would be messy. But the card sat in the top drawer of my desk for 2 weeks, daring me every time I opened it. One night, after a long day and a glass of wine too many, I texted the number. "Still think I play it safe?" The response came less than a minute later. "Prove me wrong." That was how it started. Our first date wasn't like any I'd had before. He picked me up in a black town car, took me to a quiet rooftop restaurant that wasn't listed on Yelp, and made me laugh with stories about how he once got kicked out of a board meeting for calling someone out on a lie. I'd never met someone so sharp, so unapologetically in control. And yet, with me, he was never unkind. Demanding, yes. Intense, absolutely. But there was something underneath it all, a deep well of patience and curiosity, like he was studying me and waiting to see what I would do next. I was drawn to him in a way that scared me. He made me feel seen in ways I didn't know I wanted. He didn't just listen to my words, he heard the silences between them. He'd ask questions no one had ever asked me, then wait while I stumbled over the answers. It was like he was peeling back every layer I'd built to keep myself from being too vulnerable. The first time he kissed me, it wasn't soft or hesitant. It was sure. Like he had waited long enough, and now it was time. And when I kissed him back, I felt something shift inside me. Like I had just crossed a line I didn't want to retreat from. Our relationship wasn't ordinary. Ethan didn't just want a partner. He wanted everything. He wanted my trust, my honesty, my loyalty, and most of all, my surrender. Not in a way that made me feel small. No, it was the opposite. Being with him made me feel powerful, like I could finally stop pretending to be fine all the time. I didn't have to keep everything together. With Ethan, I could let go. He paid attention to details I didn't even notice about myself. He knew when I was anxious before I said a word. He could tell when I was overthinking something by the way I chewed the inside of my cheek. He learned me the way someone learns a language, carefully, reverently. I didn't mean to fall in love with him. But one night, as we sat in his apartment overlooking the city, he asked me a question that changed everything. "What's the one thing you've never told anyone?" I hesitated. Not because I didn't trust him, but because the truth had always felt too heavy to speak aloud. But he waited, his hand resting lightly over mine. "I've always felt like I had to earn love," I whispered. "Like if I wasn't perfect, people would leave." His expression didn't change, but his grip on my hand tightened just slightly. He leaned in, kissed my forehead, and said, "You don't have to earn anything with me, Olivia. I already chose you." That was the moment I knew. He owned me, not in the way people talk about possession, but in the way someone owns your trust, your secrets, your unspoken fears. And the crazy thing was I wanted him to. I didn't just accept his control, I craved it. Not because I was weak, but because he had proven that he could be trusted with the parts of me no one else had ever seen. There were times it scared me. How much I needed him. How I'd catch myself looking at my phone just to see his name. How I rearranged my schedule to fit his. But I never felt lost. If anything, I felt more like myself than I ever had. He pushed me, challenged me, made me face things I had buried deep. And through it all, he stayed. Even on the nights when I cried over memories I couldn't explain, he stayed. He never tried to fix me. He just held space for me to be broken and to heal. Months passed, and our lives began to intertwine in quiet, deliberate ways. He knew how I took my coffee. I knew the look he gave when he was stressed, but didn't want to talk about it. He kept a drawer for me at his place. I left a book on his nightstand that he pretended not to read, but I saw the bookmark move every few days. One evening, after a long week, I collapsed onto his couch and said, "I don't know how you do it. Handle everything. Stay so in control." He looked at me, his eyes softer than usual. Control isn't about holding everything together. It's about knowing what matters enough to hold on to. He walked over, sat beside me, and tilted my chin so I'd look at him. "And you matter. That's why I'll never let you go." I didn't say anything right away. My throat was tight, my heart thudding against my ribs like it wanted to answer for me. When I finally found the words, they came out raw and shaky. "Don't stop. Whatever this is, don't ever stop." His lips brushed mine, slow and deliberate. I wasn't planning to.